Hey guys, today I'm going to be canning stewed tomatoes and vegetables, and I wanted to share this recipe because it's just awesome. It's such a good thing to have on your food storage shelves because it's kind of one of those base recipes. You could use it in all kinds of things. It's a good base if you want to add Italian spices to it and use it as a base for a spaghetti sauce. You could add Mexican flavors to it and use it for something that way. You could also, I've taken it and just put it with meat and boiled some pasta, put it all together in a casserole and baked it. So it's really good. It's such a good thing to have on hand. Anyway, the recipe can be found in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. I get a lot of recipes out of this and they're always really good. But this one's simple. It just has a few ingredients, and most of these things are pretty easy to get. 16 cups of chopped cored peeled tomatoes, 1 cup of chopped celery, that's like 2 of those big stalks, a half a cup of onion, and 1/4 cup of green pepper. Then you have a tablespoon of granulated sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt. You also have to have some lemon juice because depending on whether you're using quarts or pints, you put some lemon juice, either 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons in the jar before you put this in, before you can it. I am going to be doing pints, so I'll be putting 1 tablespoon of lemon juice in each jar before I put the food in. So what I have to do first of all, I've got my pressure canner ready, I've got my jars and lids ready, I've got everything else. So in a large stainless steel saucepan, we're going to combine the tomatoes, the celery, the onion, and the green pepper, the sugar, and the salt. So basically everything's going to go in here, which is awesome. Pretty simple. You know, I really think that pressure canning is a lot easier than boiler water canning because there's not that much prep to it. It's pretty simple. I think a lot of people are just afraid of it, and they shouldn't be. So there's the salt, and there's the sugar. And I did want to say that the tomatoes, I don't get a lot of tomatoes, and for some reason I can't grow tomatoes here because I just don't have the heat. I'm going to try some more in my greenhouse next year, but anyway, for now what I wanted to do, because I wanted to make this today and I didn't have access to the tomatoes, but I did have access to the big cans of diced tomatoes that you can buy, and 1 batch of this takes 1.5 of these cans. And I measured it out, and so for me, you always want to double check everything because what I do may not exactly work the same for you, but it was 1.5 cans, so I have a half can left over. I'll open the other can and I'll make 2 batches of this. So here we have it all mixed together in this saucepan. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it slowly to a boil over medium heat and continue to stir because you want to kind of break up the tomatoes. This is kind of handy because with these diced tomatoes, which by the way, really I don't see any peels on them, so I don't even have to go to that trouble of peeling it, but they're already kind of broken down, so I don't really have to worry about it much. But I will boil this over medium heat, stirring to break up the tomatoes, and then cover and boil gently, stirring occasionally to prevent sticking until the vegetables begin to soften, and that should take about 10 minutes. When that's done, we're going to put a tablespoon of lemon juice in each jar, and then use this, fill the jar up to about an inch from the top, and then of course wipe the top of the jar, put them in the canner, and a pint will go for 15 minutes. So I'm going to put this on the stove, and I'll come back to you when it's ready to be put in the jars. Okay, the stewed tomatoes and vegetables are done. They boiled for about 10 minutes and all the vegetables are soft, and you can see how good that looks in there. Look at all those little bits of pepper and onion, and it just is going to be great. So we're going to bottle it up or jar it up, but the first thing you're supposed to do is, for pint jars, is to put 1 tablespoon of lemon juice in each jar. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. Oops. There we go. Put that in there. And now put the vegetables in there, and I kind of drain off some of the juice so it's not too runny because it will still make a little bit. And I'm going to save anything that's left over and make soup out of it, or a stew. And then let's see, 1 inch from the rim. That looks pretty close. Oh, sorry, watch my hand. And I'm going to take my little tool and work some of the air bubbles out. And it says 1 inch, and you know the kind of the rule I just follow is 1 inch is about to the bottom of the neck of the jar. I could use a couple little more pieces in there just to make me a little happier. There we are. So that looks good. And remember, I am talking about pressure canning times and things based on where I live, which is at sea level. So always, always remember to check a recipe before you make it. I don't care if you've seen me do it or anybody else on YouTube. Always check the recipe. Check to make sure you're doing it right for the right altitude that you live at. Check to make sure that we didn't forget anything, because you know nobody's perfect. So there's the lid. So always just for your own safety, review a recipe yourself and use your good judgment, and you'll be a lot safer than if you just go by what you see and guess from that point on. Alright, so I've got 5 more of those to fill, but look how good those are going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the rest of my jars, and I'll put them in my canner, and I'll come back to you when I've got to that point. So there they are. I got 7 pints in there, and they look fantastic. I can't wait to see what they are like when they're done. And I do have quite a bit left over. I could fill that with more, fill more pints with that, but I think what I'm going to do with this bit that's left over, I'm going to go ahead and make a second batch, and I'm going to make it separate from this bit here, and then what's left over, I'll see if I have another half a batch or even a third batch, or I'll just save this and make a fabulous spaghetti sauce. So anyway, I'm going to put the top on the canner. I'm going to let it vent for 10 minutes. As soon as the steam comes out, we'll let it go for 10 minutes, and then we'll start timing it for 15 minutes, and then you let it come back to 0 all on its own. Wait 2 minutes, open the top, wait 10 minutes, and then take them out. So I'll show you when we get there. Okie dokie, there they are. They're processed in the pressure canner at 10 pounds of pressure, 11 pounds on a dial gauge for my altitude. And there they are. I'm going to take these guys out of there. I let the pressure come back to 0 all by itself. Didn't force it. Let it do its own thing. And then, let me see if you can see it a little bit better. There. So I love this because it's got a little bit of pepper, a little onion, just enough seasonings that it's great base. Super good. I'm going to make another batch here in a little bit. Seven pints of stewed tomatoes and vegetables. I'm going to have 14 to 21, but you can still see some bubbling going on in there. Yum. Good stuff. I hope you try it. Thanks for watching.